Welcome to Suri Cheating Story, where we share true stories of betrayal in love. Our channel brings heartfelt, real-life experiences from those who have endured the pain of infidelity. Whether you're facing challenges in your own relationship or seeking to better understand the complexities of love and trust, Suri Cheating Story is the place for you. Subscribe now to explore the emotional depths in the path to healing with us. Suri paces the hospital corridor, her boots hammering the sterile tiles with a relentless thud, the antiseptic stench clawing at her throat like a vengeful ghost as Caleb battles for survival behind the operating room doors. Her chest heaves, a chaotic storm of hope and dread raging within. She's poured her soul into this moment, bartered Clara's cursed jewels, rallied the village's fierce spirit, and now she waits, stripped raw, praying the surgeon's cold steel can resurrect his fragile heart. The clock ticks with brutal precision, each second a savage lash against her fraying nerves, a merciless reminder of the stakes. She's claimed Caleb, this tiny warrior born from Ethan's betrayal, not just to honor a dead man, but to seize the motherhood she'd wept for through barren, desolate years. Her hands tremble, fists clenching, as she wrestles the terror gnawing at her core. He's hers now, blood be damned, and she'll claw through hell itself to keep his chest rising. The village pulses behind her, Jacob and Clara holding vigil back home, their faith a roaring tide she grips like a lifeline. But here, alone, the weight slams into her, threatening to shatter her into a million jagged pieces. A shadow slinks into the hallway, sharp heels clicking like gunfire, splintering the sterile silence with a chilling edge. Suri whips around, her gut twisting into a tight, sickening knot as a woman emerges. Tall, blonde, a venomous beauty radiating cold, calculated arrogance. The stranger's lips curl into a smirk, her eyes glinting with a predatory hunger that sends a shiver racing down Suri's spine. "You're Suri, right?" the woman purrs, her voice a razor dipped in sickly sweet honey, slicing through the air with venomous intent. Suri nods, her jaw locking tight, every muscle coiling like a spring ready to snap. She senses the danger, a primal alarm screaming in her bones. "I'm Lila," she declares, the name detonating in Suri's mind like a thunderbolt, ripping open the festering wounds Ethan's diary had carved into her soul. Lila, Ethan's first love, his seductress, Caleb's mother, stands before her, a ghost turned flesh and fury, her presence a vicious tempest crashing into the fragile piece Suri had clawed from the wreckage. "I'm here for my son," Lila snaps, her tone icy and unyielding, and Suri's world lurches, rage erupting like a wildfire roaring through her veins. She lunges forward, her voice a feral growl that claws its way out. "Your son? You dumped him like garbage. Don't you dare claim him now." Lila doesn't flinch, her smirk stretching wider, a cruel blade twisting deeper into Suri's heart. "I gave birth to him. Sweetheart, he's mine by right," she fires back, crossing her arms with a casual disdain that sets Suri's blood ablaze. The air crackles, a battlefield igniting between them, and Suri's fists ball up, itching to smash that smug porcelain face into dust. She'd devoured Ethan's anguish in those pages, Lila's cold abandonment, her heartless shrug as she left Caleb to rot in an orphanage's grim embrace. And now this woman dares to strut in, demanding what she'd forsaken with a flick of her manicured hand. "You left him to die," Suri snarls, stepping closer, her breath hot with unchecked fury. "I've fought for him, bled for him. You don't get to waltz back and steal him." Lila laughs, a sharp, mocking cackle that ricochets off the walls like shrapnel. And Suri's vision blurs red, her restraint snapping like a frayed thread. Lila leans in, her perfume a cloying assault that chokes the air, and hisses, "You think you're some saint? He's my blood. I can take him whenever I damn well please." Suri's heart thunders, a war drum pounding for violence, but she reins it in, her voice dropping to a lethal, simmering whisper. "Try it, Layla. I'll bury you before you lay a finger on him." The threat hangs heavy, a dark, unshakable promise forged in the molten fire of her love for Caleb, and Lila's eyes flicker, uncertainty piercing her icy bravado, for a fleeting, delicious second. She recovers fast, tossing her hair with a sneer. We'll see about that. My husband wants a kid, and Caleb's convenient. Healthy now, thanks to your little crusade. The words slam into Suri like a sledgehammer. Convenient? Caleb's life, his agony, reduced to a whim by this soulless harpy. She staggers, disbelief warring with a visceral disgust that churns her stomach, but her resolve hardens into a steel fortress around her battered soul. Suri surges forward, towering despite her exhaustion, her gaze a blazing inferno that could scorch the earth bare. You're a monster, she spits, each syllable a venom-tipped dart aimed to kill. You abandoned him when he was sick, left him to suffer while you chased your next rich bastard. I'm his mother now. Me, not you. Lila's smirk falters, her composure cracking like thin ice under Suri's relentless ferocity. Courts don't care about your sob story, Lila retorts, but her voice wavers, a brittle fracture in her frosty armor. Suri seizes the weakness, lunging into the breach with savage precision. They'll care when I show them the truth. Your lies, your neglect. You're nothing to him but a shadow. The air thickens, electrified by their clashing wills, and Lila steps back, her heels scraping the tiles, an unwitting retreat that stokes Suri's fire into a roaring blaze. She presses the attack, her words a merciless barrage. I've held him through the nights, fed him when he couldn't eat, paid for his life with every shred of me. Where were you, sucking up to some Italian millionaire while he fought to breathe? Lila's face tightens, a flash of shame darting across her features like a hunted animal, but she masks it with a snarl. Keep your fairy tale, I'll get him back, and you'll be dust in the wind. Suri laughs, a harsh, guttural roar born of fury and triumph that echoes down the hall. Over my dead body, she vows, her stance unyielding, a warrior forged in the crucible of grief and grit. Lila glares, her confidence splintering like glass under a hammer, then spins on her heel, storming out with a hiss. This isn't over, bitch. The door slams shut, a gunshot reverberating in the stillness, and Suri slumps against the wall, her chest heaving, adrenaline surging like a tidal wave through her veins. She's shaken to her core, her knees trembling beneath her, but a savage, unquenchable strength surges through her. Caleb's hers, and no one, not Lila, not the devil himself, will rip him from her arms. The surgery doors loom ahead, a silent sentinel guarding her boy's fate, and she straightens, wiping tears with a fierce, defiant swipe. Lila's threat lingers, a dark cloud swelling on her horizon, but Suri's ready to fight, to bleed, to unleash a hurricane of hell if that woman dares return. She whispers into the sterile void, a ragged, fervent prayer. Stay with me. Caleb, we've got a war to win. The hospital hums around her, oblivious to the battlefield she's claimed, and she braces herself, a mother reborn in fire and fury, facing a storm she'll conquer or shatter trying. Suri leans against the hospital wall, her body quivering like a taut bowstring. Lila's chilling sneer. This isn't over, ricocheting through her mind like a relentless thunderclap. The surgery doors crash open, a haggard doctor staggering out with a curt nod. Caleb's alive, his fragile heart stitched together, a razor-thin victory snatched from the abyss. Relief surges through her, a torrential rush that nearly sweeps her legs from under her, but it's poisoned with a gnawing terror. Lila's threat looms like a vulture circling a fresh kill. Suri charges to Caleb's bedside, her boots pounding the tiles with a fierce rhythm, and gazes through the glass at his tiny, broken form. Tubes snaking from his pale chest. Monitors pulsing a shaky lifeline. Her heart twists into a knot, a primal, blazing fire roaring to life within her. She's his protector now, his unyielding shield, and she'll claw through mountains to keep him safe. She presses her palm to the glass, whispering his name like a war cry into the sterile void, steeling herself for the onslaught she knows is barreling toward them, her soul a fortress forged in fury and love. Days grind by, a relentless slog as Caleb heals under her ferocious watch. She hauls him back to the farm, the village erupting in gritty, triumphant roars. Jacob slamming her shoulder with a proud grunt, Clara shoving a quilt into her arms with a rare, fierce grin, but Suri's nerves hum with a restless dread. Lila's words fester like an open wound, a dark omen she can't banish, and she hovers over Caleb like a hawk, her eyes scanning every shadow for the strike she feels coming. Spring unfurls across the fields, the air buzzing with renewal, and she carves a brutal routine, tending crops with sweat-soaked hands, cradling Caleb through sleepless nights, her exhaustion a jagged price she pays without hesitation. One crisp morning, with daycare shuttered for repairs, she entrusts him to Mrs. Harrow, the neighbor whose warm, weathered embrace has anchored her through storms. "Keep him locked tight," Suri growls, her voice a steel edge cutting through the dawn, and Mrs. Harrow nods, her soft chuckle blind to the chaos lurking. Suri tears off to the fields, the tractors roar swallowing her unease, but a sickening dread coils in her gut like a serpent. She's left him exposed, and it gnaws at her with razor-sharp teeth. The sun blazes high when she rockets back, her truck screeching into the yard, dust exploding like a war cloud around her. The gate gapes wide, a silent scream that freezes her blood, and her heart slams against her ribs. Something's wrong, catastrophically wrong. A faint, anguished wail slices through the air, and she bolts toward the house, her pulse thundering like a cannonade. Mrs. Harrow lies crumpled on the floor, blood oozing from a gash on her temple, her sobs a broken, desperate plea. "They took him, Suri! I couldn't stop them!" The words detonate, shattering Suri's world into a million jagged shards, and she drops beside the old woman, hauling her up with shaking, frantic hands. "Who?" she roars, though the answer crashes into her like a tidal wave. Lila's specter looms, a ruthless phantom turned flesh and malice. Mrs. Harrow chokes out the nightmare. Two towering brutes in a black SUV stormed in, snatched Caleb from his crayons and toy cars, slammed her down when she lunged to fight, her frail body no match for their savage strength. Suri's vision darkens, rage and despair surging in a molten torrent. She's failed him, lost him, and the guilt rips her soul apart like a ravenous beast tearing into prey. She erupts into motion, her scream a primal, earth-shaking howl as she charges to her truck, the engine snarling to life with a vengeance that rattles the ground. The road unfurls like a battlefield, dust choking the air as she floors it, chasing a ghost she can't yet see. That SUV, she glimpsed it on her way, a menacing shadow lurking on the horizon, and now it's her lifeline, her only thread to Caleb. Her hands grip the wheel, knuckles white as bone, her mind a frenzied maelstrom of his face, his wide, trusting eyes sparkling with innocence, his tiny fingers clutching hers in sleepy trust. She'd vowed to shield him, poured her blood, sweat, and tears into his fragile survival, and now he's gone, stolen by Lila's cruel, grasping claws. Tears scald her cheeks, blurring the road, but she swipes them away with a fierce snarl, her voice a guttural, unbreakable oath. "I'll find you, baby. I'll tear the heavens down to bring you home." The highway blurs into a reckless, desperate haze, her speed a wild prayer flung into the wind. But the trail evaporates, swallowed by endless asphalt, and she slams the brakes, collapsing over the wheel with a soul-crushing sob that splits the sky. Sirens wail in the distance, the police surging in like a cavalry summoned by Mrs. Harrow's trembling, blood-streaked call, a lifeline Suri seizes with bleeding hands. She leaps from the truck, her voice a frantic, raging deluge as she unloads on the lead cop. Hayes, Lila's name spilling like poison, her certainty a blazing torch lighting the dark. "She took him! Hunt her down now," she demands, her eyes wild with a fury that could shatter stone. Hayes nods, his jaw clenched tight, and radios crackle with urgent, barked commands, orders flying to snare Lila in her twisted web. Suri's not waiting. She storms back to the village, Jacob and the crew rallying like a war band, their shouts thundering across the fields as they scour forests, scourge-haunted backroads, and abandoned barns with relentless grit. Hours bleed into a torturous, endless nightmare, her hope fraying to brittle threads until Hayes calls. Lila's holed up in a plush hotel, smirking and untouchable, denying everything with a scoff that drips with contempt. "No evidence ties her," Hayes grumbles, his voice heavy with frustration. But Suri's instincts scream the truth. She knows Lila's the architect, a puppet master pulling strings from the shadows with cold, calculated precision. She barrels to the hotel, her truck screeching to a halt with a violent shudder, and storms into Lila's lavish suite, the air thick with her smug, cloying disdain. "Where is he?" Suri bellows, lunging forward with a feral roar, her hands aching to throttle that sneering, porcelain throat. Lila lounges on a velvet chaise, unruffled, her laugh a cruel, cutting blade that slashes through the tension. "I don't know what you're raving about. Prove it, you pathetic farm rat." Suri's rage surges, a tidal wave crashing against Lila's icy, impenetrable facade. But the cops drag her back, Hayes muttering about legal chains binding their hands. She's a caged lioness, clawing at her restraints with a desperation that could rend steel, her mind racing. Caleb's out there, terrified, crying for her, and Lila's too slick, too pristine to catch in the act. She staggers outside, her chest heaving with ragged, anguished breaths, and collapses against the truck, her scream splitting the night like a jagged wound. "I'll find you, Caleb. I swear it on my soul." The stars glare down, cold and pitiless, as she vows to hunt, to fight, to rip her boy from the jaws of this living hell, her spirit a blazing inferno that nothing, not Lila, not fate, can extinguish. Suri slumps against her truck, her ragged scream still clawing at the night sky, a primal howl swallowed by the relentless, icy stars. Caleb's absence gnaws at her soul, torn from her arms by Lila's ruthless grasp, and the torment rips through her like a feral beast, shredding her with every shuddering breath. She'd stormed Lila's hotel, faced her smug denial, but the cops hauled her back. Hayes' gruff, "No evidence," a bitter lash that stokes her desperation. She races home, her truck roaring like a wounded predator, dust swirling in her wake as Jacob and the village crew scour the wilds, their shouts a faint battle cry. Her hope frayed to a brittle thread, she paces the yard, boots grinding dirt, her mind a chaotic storm of Caleb's giggle, his tiny hand clutching hers, until Hayes' call jolts her like lightning. "We've got him!" The words crash into her, a tempest of relief and dread, and she barrels to the station, her heart thundering like cannon fire. She storms into the precinct, her eyes blazing, and there he is, Caleb, curled in a blanket, his small body quaking, tears streaking his pale cheeks. Suri lunges, scooping him into her arms, her embrace a fierce, unyielding fortress as she crushes him to her chest, sobbing into his soft curls. "You're safe, baby. I've got you," she chokes, her voice a raw, trembling hymn of victory and terror. He clings to her, whimpering, "Mama!" And the sound skewers her, a bitter-sweet dagger that heals and wounds in equal measure. Hayes looms nearby, his face carved with exhaustion. Two goons had him stashed in a safe house. Nabbed them on the run. Anonymous tip. Suri's gut twists, Lila's specter flickers. But Hayes shakes his head. She's untouchable so far. No solid link. Rage surges, a molten river, but Caleb's warmth steadies her, his shaky breaths a lifeline pulling her back from the edge. She nods, clutching him tighter, vowing to unearth this nightmare's roots, her resolve a blazing steel spine. She barricades them in at the farm, rocking Caleb through sleepless nights, her exhaustion a brutal toll for his safety. The village hums with relief, Jacob's gruff slap on her back, Clara's sharp "told you he'd make it." But Suri's nerves buzz, Lila's threat a dark wraith she can't banish. One quiet evening, she's bathing Caleb, his giggles a fragile salve when a sharp knock shatters the calm. She storms to the door, her pulse hammering, and there stands Lila. Blonde venom draped in a sleek coat, her smirk a cruel, glinting blade. "Miss me, farm girl?" she purrs, and Suri's fists clench, rage erupting like a wildfire roaring through dry brush. "Get out!" she snarls, barring the threshold. But Lila saunters closer, her eyes gleaming with vicious intent. "I've got a little tale for you," she hisses, and Suri freezes, dread coiling like a tightening noose as Lila's words spill forth. A savage, calculated blow aimed to obliterate her world. "Ethan wasn't Caleb's father," Lila declares, her voice a venomous lash that cracks the air, and Suri staggers, the earth lurching beneath her feet. "What?" she chokes, her throat raw with disbelief, but Lila presses on, relentless and cruel. "I was knocked up before I slept with him. Some deadbeat who smashed his car. I lied, faked the DNA, watched Ethan squirm like a worm on a hook." Her laugh slices deep, a jagged shard of malice, and Suri's vision swims, shock crashing over her like a merciless tsunami. Ethan's diary, his guilt-soaked pages, his frantic payments, his torment, flashes before her, now a twisted, hollow mirage. "He swallowed it whole," Leela sneers. "The noble idiot running himself into the ground for a kid that wasn't even his. You fell for it too, didn't you?" Suri's knees buckle, her hands grasping the doorframe as the revelation rips her apart. A brutal, searing wound that leaves her gasping in its wreckage. She stares at Lila, her rage a smoldering ember dwarfed by a crushing, soul-deep grief. "You're full of it," she growls, her voice trembling. But Lila's smirk stretches wider, a triumphant gash. "Am I? Check his face. Those eyes aren't Ethan's. I played you both for fools, and you danced right into it." Suri's mind reels, memories of Caleb's features, his dark curls, his soft, unfamiliar gaze, clashing with Ethan's rugged jaw, his piercing blue stare. She'd willed Ethan into him, clung to the illusion, but now doubt gnaws like a relentless rat, burrowing into her core. Lila steps closer, her voice a venomous whisper. "I wanted him back for my husband. Ethan's mess was just a sweet little bonus." Suri lunges, her snarl feral. "Get out before I kill you." And Lila retreats, her laugh echoing like a curse as the door slams shut, a gunshot reverberating in the silence. Suri collapses, her sobs a broken, tempestuous storm as the truth sinks its claws in, a crushing weight that threatens to smother her. She stumbles to Caleb's crib, where he sleeps innocently, his peaceful breaths a stark contrast to the chaos shredding her insides. She kneels, trembling fingers, tracing his face, searching desperately for Ethan, and finding nothing. The realization slams her like a sledgehammer. He's not Ethan's, never was, and the love she'd built, the legacy she'd fought tooth and nail for, crumbles into bitter ash. Tears scald her cheeks, her breath hitching as she wrestles the devastation. Ethan's guilt was a fabricated lie, her war a cruel illusion, and Caleb's a stranger seed. Yet his tiny hand twitches, brushing her finger, and her soul roars back, fierce and unbowed. "You're mine," she whispers, her voice a steel-clad vow, defying Lila's poison with every fiber of her being. Blood doesn't forge their bond. Her fight does. Her sacrifice, her relentless, unbreakable love. She'd bled for him, defied hell's fury for him, and no lie, no twisted truth can sever that tie. Night cloaks the farm in a suffocating shroud, the stars glaring down like pitiless sentinels, but Suri rises, cradling Caleb with a trembling, defiant strength. Lila's revelation is a wound, a deep, festering gash that bleeds her dry, but it doesn't shatter her. It forges her anew, a phoenix rising from the ashes of betrayal. She storms to the porch, the cold biting her tear-streaked face, and faces the void with a blazing glare. "He's my son. Damn you, Lila. Damn your filthy lies." The wind howls back, carrying her defiance into the dark, and she clutches Caleb tighter, her heart a battlefield where grief and triumph wage war. Ethan's ghost fades, a shadow she releases with a heavy sigh, but Caleb remains hers, forged in the crucible of her fire, sealed by the blood she spilled, and she'll fight the world, the heavens and hell itself to keep him, her love a fierce, unquenchable storm that nothing can extinguish. Suri stands on the porch, the night's icy grip clawing at her tear-streaked face, Caleb cradled in her arms as the stars glare down like merciless judges. Lila's venomous truth, Ethan wasn't his father, echoes in her skull, a brutal sledgehammer that shattered the illusion she'd clung to, leaving her reeling in a wasteland of betrayal. The farm sprawls before her, a rugged testament to Ethan's dreams, now tainted by the lies she'd fought for. But her grip on Caleb tightens, her heart a blazing furnace refusing to gut her out. He's not Ethan's blood. Lila's cruel laugh still stings, but he's hers, forged in the crucible of her sacrifice, cemented by the fierce, unrelenting love she's poured into his fragile life. She storms back inside, slamming the door against the dark, her boots pounding the floor as she lays Caleb in his crib, her vow a thunderous whisper. No one takes you from me. Ever. The truth has gutted her, but it won't break her. It fuels her, igniting a resolve as fierce as a wildfire. Morning claws through the curtains, a harsh, golden glare that bathes the farm in unforgiving light. But Suri rises like a warrior, her exhaustion a jagged scar she wears with pride. Caleb stirs, his soft coo a lifeline pulling her from the abyss, and she scoops him up, pressing her lips to his forehead, inhaling his sweet scent, a balm against the chaos, shredding her soul. Lila's revelation gnaws at her, a relentless specter, but she shoves it down, her eyes blazing as she faces the day. She storms to the kitchen, her hands trembling as she brews coffee, the steam rising like a battle cry. Jacob barges in, his grizzled frame filling the doorway, his voice a gravelly growl. You okay, girl? She nods, her jaw tight, and spills the truth. Ethan's not Caleb's father, Lila's twisted game. His eyes widen, shock flickering, but he clamps a hand on her shoulder, fierce and steady. Doesn't change a damn thing. He's yours. The words sear into her, a rugged anchor, and she straightens, her resolve roaring louder. Clara crashes through next, her sharp gaze cutting through the haze, and Suri unloads again. Lila's lie, the DNA sham, Caleb's stranger blood. Clara's face hardens, her voice a steel blade. Blood's just a word. You're his mother. End of story. She shoves a biscuit into Suri's hand, her gruff warmth a battering ram against despair, and Suri bites down, the taste grounding her in the fight. The village rallies, their rough voices buzzing. Mrs. Harrow limping in with a pie, her bruised face a testament to her own battle, whispering, He's your boy, Suri. Don't let her win. Their faith surges around her, a fierce, unshakable tide, and she clutches Caleb tighter, her heart swelling with a defiant pride. They don't care about Ethan's seed. They see her war, her scars, and they stand with her, a gritty army against Lila's venom. She charges into the fields, Caleb strapped to her chest, the sun a blazing tyrant scorching her skin as she hauls grain sacks with a fury that defies her weary bones. The crew watches, their nods sharp with respect. She's no widow playing house. She's a mother forged in fire, claiming her son against the world. Every thud of her boots, every beat of sweat, screams her defiance. Caleb's hers. Not Lila's, not some deadbeats. Hers alone. She'd bled for him, sold treasures for him, faced hell's jaws to pull him back, and no lie can unravel that bond. Her mind churns. A relentless storm. Ethan's anguished scribbles, his guilt a mirage. But she shoves it aside, her love for Caleb a blazing beacon that outshines the past. She pauses, wiping her brow, and whispers to him, You're my blood now, her voice a steel vow that echoes across the swaying wheat. Night falls hard, the stars a cold jury, but Suri's unbowed, rocking Caleb as the farm hums with quiet strength. Lila's threat lingers, a dark cloud swelling, and she knows the war's not over. That blonde viper won't slink away. She storms to the shed, Ethan's old refuge, and digs through his papers, her hands trembling as she hunts for proof. Something to bury Lila's claim. A crumpled letter surfaces, Ethan's scrawl confessing his doubt. His fear Caleb wasn't his, and it stabs her anew, but she grips it tight. A weapon for the fight ahead. She'll face courts, cops, whatever it takes. Lila won't touch him. She slams the drawer shut, her resolve a roaring inferno, and strides back to Caleb, her eyes blazing with a mother's ferocious love. The village buzzes with whispers, Lila's scheming, Caleb's rescue, and Suri feels their eyes, their trust fueling her fire. She gathers them one dusk, her voice a thunderclap. He's not Ethan's by blood, but he's mine by heart. Anyone challenges that. They're challenging us all. Jacob roars approval. Clara nods sharp. And the crew thumps fists, their loyalty a rugged wall she leans into. She's not alone. Ethan's ghost fades, But this army stands, their grit a mirror to her own. She storms home, Caleb in her arms, and faces the mirror. Her reflection a warrior's, scarred, fierce, unbreakable. "You're my son," she growls, her voice a steel blade cutting through doubt, and his sleepy smile ignites her soul. A fierce, unshakable bond no lie can shatter. Days grind on, the farm a battlefield she commands. Caleb her heartbeat driving every step. Lila's shadow looms, a venomous threat, but Suri's ready, her love a blazing fortress, her will a tempest that'll crush any foe. She'd defied fate for him, wrestled death for him, and this truth, bitter, jagged, only tempers her steel. She storms the porch, the night biting her skin, and hurls her defiance at the stars. "He's mine, try me, Lila, and burn." The wind carries her roar, a mother's unyielding claim, and she clutches Caleb, her heart a fierce, relentless drum beating for him alone. Suri stands tall, the courtroom air crackling with tension, her heart thundering as the gavel slams down, a brutal, resounding crack that seals Lila's fate. The judge's voice booms, a steel blade slicing through the chaos. Guilty, kidnapping, coercion, fraud. Lila crumples, her smug mask shattering into a wail, her blonde venom drained as cuffs snap around her wrists, dragging her from Suri's life like a vanquished specter. Suri clutches Caleb, her arms a fierce fortress, tears scalding her cheeks as relief surges, a torrential flood washing away months of terror. The thugs rot in cells, their hulking frames no match for justice's iron fist, and Suri's chest heaves, triumph roaring through her veins. Lila's lies, Ethan's false fatherhood, burned her soul, but she'd fought, bled, and won. Her love a blazing shield no court could dent. She storms out, Caleb giggling against her, the village erupting. Jacob's roar, Clara's sharp nod, a fierce chorus of victory. The stars blaze overhead, no longer cold, and Suri whispers, "We're free, baby," her voice a defiant hymn, her heart soaring, unbreakable. Forged anew in the fire of a mother's relentless war. They storm back to the farm, the air thick with spring's musky promise, Caleb bouncing between them as the village trails behind, their rough laughter echoing across the fields. Suri's boots pound the dirt, her hand locked in Daniel's, and the farmhouse glows, a rugged haven transformed by this fierce union. Inside, tables grown with food, Clara's biscuits, Mrs. Harrow's pie, while Jacob slaps Daniel's back, his growl fierce. "You've got a warrior now, son." Suri smirks, her pride roaring, and Caleb toddles through the chaos, his tiny hands smearing cake on Daniel's jeans. She watches, her heart thundering, a family, a fierce, uncharted tribe, and feels the weight of Ethan's ghost dissolve. Lila's shadow burn away, leaving only this blazing present. Daniel pulls her close, his breath warm against her ear. "We're just starting, Suri." And she nods, her resolve a fierce flame, ready to build anew. Days blaze into a relentless rhythm, the farm a wild beast they tame together. Wheat swaying under a scorching sun, cattle lowing in deep, primal tones, their hands blistered as they wrestle the land into submission. Caleb toddles between them, his laughter a fierce spark igniting their grind. But Daniel's mind churns, a quiet storm brewing beneath his steady grin. One dawn he storms the shed, Ethan's old lair, his boots thudding as he unearths dusty journals, their pages scrawled with dreams of a garden Ethan never sowed. Suri watches, her gut twisting. Those plans sting, a jagged echo of a past she's released. But Daniel's voice rumbles, fierce and sure. "Let's make it ours." Her heart stumbles, a wild ache flaring. Ethan's ghost lingers. But Daniel's here, real, unyielding. She nods, her jaw tight. "Do it." And they dive in, a fierce pack sealed in dirt and sweat. They charge into the fields, a rugged duo carving a new legacy. Daniel's hands steady, Suri's fierce, their shovels slicing the earth like war blades. The sun blazes, a merciless tyrant scorching their skin. But they plant, apple saplings, cherry roots, raspberry vines, each root a fierce defiance of the past. Caleb toddles beside them, his tiny fingers digging holes, his giggles a fierce hymn to their labor. Suri's back screams, her hands bleed, but she drives on, her resolve a roaring inferno. Ethan's dream was a seed, but this is hers. Theirs, a fierce bloom she'll nurture with Daniel's grit. He grins, sweat streaking his face. We're building something, and her chest swells, a wild pride surging as the garden takes shape, a rugged testament to their union. Weeks grind on, the garden a fierce obsession. Daniel storms the fields daily, his hands steady as he stakes vines and water saplings, his vision a blazing force. Suri resists at first, her pride roaring. I've got the farm. But he shoves her out, his growl fierce. You've carried enough, let me. She relents, her heart thudding, and watches from the porch, Caleb in her lap. As rows of green erupt, plums, pears, sprawling grapes, a fierce living echo of Ethan's scrawl, reborn in Daniel's hands. The village buzzes, their rough voices awed. Hell of a sight, and farmers trek in, their nods sharp with respect, buying fruit, marveling at the rugged sprawl. Suri's chest tightens, a fierce joy blooming. She's no widow, no warrior alone. She's a wife, a mother, part of this wild, unyielding growth. Nights blaze with their talks, the porch a rugged sanctuary under star-streaked skies, Daniel's voice a steady rumble, Suri's fierce and raw, Caleb asleep between them. This is us, he mutters, his hand gripping hers, and she nods, tears stinging. Ethan's gone. Lila's caged, and this garden, this life, is theirs. A fierce claim on a future she's fought to seize. One dusk the orchard glows, fruit heavy on the branches, and Daniel pulls her close, his kiss a storm of heat and grit. I'd build you the world. Her heart roars, a wild, unquenchable tide, and she clings, her love a fierce, relentless bloom no past can smother. Years surge forward, the garden a fierce empire, apple trees towering, cherry branches sagging with red, vines sprawling with plump grapes, a rugged legacy drawing crowds from beyond the village. Suri storms the fields, Daniel at her side, their hands steady as they harvest, Caleb darting through rows, his laughter a fierce echo of their triumph. The farm thrives, a wild beast they've tamed, and she pauses, sweat streaking her face, her heart a blazing drum. This is home, a fierce, unyielding haven she's built with him. Part 2 ends here, but the story has not stopped yet. The next developments will have many surprises, surging emotions that you cannot miss. In which direction will fate push the story? What awaits ahead? Stay tuned for the next episode so you don't miss the most important details. Thank you for watching. See you in the next part.